wholesome conversations with Julie and Toby. We are glad you tuned in today and hope you are doing well. So today we want to talk about contentment and comparison. So the actual topic is comparison. Comparison. So yeah, as usual, I always like to start with you. Like, sorry, but not sorry. So, like, what is comparison? I talked about contentment just now, like, or like the actual topic of this podcast is comparison. So, like, when a person, what does that signify to you?
Of course, I think it's all about having two species, and then you're trying to look at the relationship between those two species. So it might not necessarily be humans, and that's the reason for saying maybe items or anything. But in this case, it's more of humans. Like you have someone else that you now compare things, or you are looking at similarities or differences between these two individuals, and that's where comparison comes in. I think, of course, we might now divert eventually to talk about contentment, but I feel we can just
talk about comparison for now, because that's actually what we came to talk about.
What was it in your own thoughts?
Yeah, I think that is it. Comparison definitely has to do with looking at two things. I think two, not more than two. I think it's usually two. And relating them to each other and trying to definitely comparison. I feel in my opinion that it always tilts towards you can't, as I say, you can't love God and Mammon, so you can't love two things equally. It's very hard in life to love two things equally, not just people. So comparing people or things, and you always tilt towards one than the other. You always prefer one than the other. You always envy one than the other, or always what's this word now? Always, just want to have one over the other.
Yeah, based on that, can we say that most times this comparison thing comes when you think you are minority? Because that's just what I'm thinking. Because maybe not. Anyways, because I feel if you're doing well, it doesn't necessarily come to mind to start sitting down and trying to see how the difference between you and the other person. I feel maybe it's pronounced for people of the same, like for people doing less than the other one. Because I think I've also noticed big people also say things like, who is that person? He's nothing. And in a way, when you're saying someone is nothing, that's you also comparing yourself to the person and feeling that you're on a high pedestal, that this person is not. So
that's interesting. So you mean that comparison can be both ways? Like you can compare and think this thing is inferior, and you can compare and think this thing is superior. That's a good opener, because as I said before, I'd always thought in comparison you always strongly prefer something. Well, I think it's still valid. Even the person that thinks is superior strongly prefers himself over the other person. Exactly. So you always tilt towards the place that you think is better.
And I always feel like there is an effect that has on you, irrespective. Because if you're inferior, then you feel less enough, if I can use that word. Like you don't really feel much of yourself adequate. You feel inadequate in a way. And if you are superior in a way, you feel overconfident of yourself. So I feel there is an effect that causes, irrespective of where you fall in the spectrum. So, but do you think these things happen unconsciously sometimes? Like, I might not necessarily sit down and think about, who is this person? Okay, I'm better than this person. The next person, I'm not so. But sometimes it might just be you just passing by, and then you feel pity for some people. You're suffering, and in a way, of course, you've compared the situation and all that. So, can we say necessarily that comparison is bad? Because there have been situations whereby because there are situations you also I don't know if I can say it that way. You compare yourself, your
And
old
it
self.
motivates you.
You compare your old self to your new self, and you feel like, oh, I've gone a long way, or there is more I can do. And there are now situations whereby I just use your own self as an example. There's times you see someone doing better, and you feel like, oh, this person is doing better in this particular thing. And if I can
And it
also,
motivates you.
yeah, you get motivation out of comparison.
Definitely, comparison isn't bad from my point of view. I think we should judge it, examine it based on the emotions that we get from it. Your words are like you said you always get something from comparing. It always brings an effect, or it always has an effect on you. So it has a feedback on you, on you psychologically, or in terms of what you do and everything. So I think we need to pay attention to how we feel. If how we feel and the effect it has on us. So if ultimately what it brings is feelings of being re-energized or being motivated, a deep sense of motivation, then I would call that constructive comparison. But the destructive type is the type that gives you. Have you ever compared that you feel less motivated, demotivated? Essentially, you feel that you probably did work twice as hard, and you are getting half of the result of the other person, and then you don't feel motivated to continue. So it's important to understand that, and there are ways we can evaluate like comparison, and there are like recipes for handling that in case of the ones that bring demotivation and all of that. But generally, comparison is not bad. We need to pay attention to what it brings, and also when we're comparing ourselves with previous selves, it can happen both ways. Like many people used to say, "Oh, the only thing I want to compare myself with is my previous version to be the best." But sometimes when we compare and we feel that we are the best version, then we rest on our laurels, right? And then we don't want to even do better. We feel like we've gotten there. And the end of a man is a man that stopped learning. So it's both ways. We need to pay attention. Looking at that, we see that one we are demotivated because we feel we've achieved so much comparing our previous selves.
Yeah, but what are the recipes, or maybe because you mentioned something?
Recipes.
Because
ingredients.
There are situations, and it might not necessarily even be intentional. And this is one thing I'm thinking.
Be unconscious.
Sometimes it's unconscious. Like you're putting effort, you're trying, and you're seeing other people thriving. And I don't want to close our eyes to this too, because sometimes it depends on the individuals. There are some people that they don't even have issues with. Okay. People around doing well and all, but there are some people that they can't even help it. It's not like they are sitting down to think about it, but it's more of I'm really working hard. Other people around are getting it right, and I'm not really getting it right. Is there anything I'm doing wrong or anything, and then they are just there being worried. Even this case is not necessarily that you want to bring someone down or anything. It's more like you're just worried that you're not getting results.
And you can be demotivated.
And that's all the reason for now saying that. So those recipes might actually be useful in this case. So
yeah, like the issue you're talking about now is with regards to it having personal feedback on yourself, like the motivation, but it can also have rebound effect on others, like bitterness, then malice and anger, and even some go as far as doing something to bring down that person, so that you guys are. So it's important, but like the rest for me, it's just one that has always worked for me. I think is relevant. Is a strong sense of purpose. I think knowing who you are and what you're like, understanding that if you ever compare yourself with someone, you are not comparing fairly, because you're comparing apples to maybe bananas or something, because we are not the same. Like, it that comes to equity must come with clean hands, must come, like, if we are going to compare, we might as well be fair to compare. I think we should always compare similar things, and that's the mistake we make, is that we compare things that are not the same.
Are they not almost similar? Because in cases like this, you're not necessarily comparing yourself with, let's say, Tony Elumelu or someone, or like Bill Gates or so. You're comparing yourself with people in your own sphere, and you feel like we grew up together, went to the same secondary school, went to the same university. So it looked similar in that way.
Yeah, that's why the strong sense of purpose, understanding who you are, and I'm still coming back to the same thing. Understanding who you are will make you know that we are not the same. The mistake we make is that we think we are similar. How many people in your circle did you actually go to primary school, secondary school, and university with? First of all, let's thin it down with that. I don't think there is anyone. Primary, secondary. I have people that went to secondary and university together. I don't have anyone. But if you have somebody might happen to have someone, maybe you narrowed it down, you have just one person that you went to that with. And is it the same? Are your parents the same? Is it the same upbringing? Is it the same privileges you both had? We are just different, down to the DNA. No twins are the same. If the DNA is different, then it means that something is different in our nature, even as twins, that will make us respond differently. In our thinking, that will make us think differently. Why are some people more competitive than the others? Some are just naturally competitive. From child, you see some children are so competitive, and some don't just care. And those people that don't just care, they never even compare themselves. They even be telling you. When I was in secondary school, one came to meet me. One of my friends, she was just like a classmate. She came to meet me. She said, "You got because then you give the first, second, and third in each subject. So you got 8 prizes, so which was a mix of first, second and third. So you got 8 prizes. I'm disappointed. You should get 10. You should get all of them. I didn't get only just 2 or 3.
Your classmate.
I was shocked as a child. I said I was a child because I was in GSS. Okay, SS. But I was still a child, basically. I was shocked that she got, but she didn't get anything. Like she just I kept thinking, even to today, I still used to think of it.
It's a different case. If maybe he got like 10,
she got 10 or she got more.
And
she didn't get anything. But looking back now, she's just this person that doesn't care. She's so sweet to be with. Probably she might stop on this video. She might not even remember. For you to know how much that does not mean anything to her, the likelihood for her to even remember is low. She does not care. It's nature, not necessarily nurture. If our brother might be different, our sister might be different, but it's just a nature. That kind of person might never even compare herself. I might be always contented. I might even, so since if 2 children exposed to the same boarding school, same stuff, and maybe even the same kind of middle class or something, are that different, then there's something in the nature. That's why we can't compare ourselves, because we are different. I think we need to let that sink into our brains. Over time, before I didn't know this, but I do a lot of self-reflection. Everybody should always do self-reflection at every point in time. And I've learned a lot by even reflecting on my life and my paths and things I have experienced in my life. I've learned a lot from within, even now talk about from outside as well. So I've learned that I am essentially in all capacity different from anybody. That's why when it's not happening on time, sometimes it just takes a while. There are things in my life that happen very fast. There are things in my life that have taken a while. It is what it is. I know my siblings, some of my siblings are established, right? And and I'm still a PhD student, but it doesn't matter because some things take a while. But there are some things I have that some of them have not yet had. It really doesn't matter.
I think it's all about seeing it from the right perspective.
The perspective matters.
Because perspective. That purpose maybe we used to come back to, or maybe another episode because that's on it. But because I feel most times you're worried about a particular thing, and then most times when you're comparing yourself, it's just against one thing. And just like you said, that you're not being fair. Right. So actually most times you're doing well in other areas that you're not even talking about. You won't compare yourself to that area. It is in another place that you're looking at this person that, oh, this person is doing well here, but you're not even thinking of other things that you yourself you're doing well at. But I think that's just the irony of life, because generally you want to, most times what comes to mind is that weakness and that sense of inadequacy, and you just want to what you don't have. No one will say, oh, I'm sad because I have a lot of money. You are always happy. But if it is a particular thing that is not working well, then you're worried about that because you want to see a result in that line too. So you close your eyes to other things whereas you open your eyes to all that. But I think just based on what you've said, it's more of understanding who you are and then your purpose to do well. But I don't know if I should digress a bit, because usually for a lot of people, this purpose thing is always gray. Like I've seen memes and all videos about. They have been talking about this purpose. I've tried it. They said I should bring out the lion in me. I've tried to bring. I don't even know what particular thing. So because most times when you're comparing yourself, it's more of you are trying to see yourself in the mirror of this other person. So not even looking at yourself the way you are, and then understanding that I'm on a journey for myself. My story is unique. My path is actually different. And sometimes it's very easier to say it than even during the process. So
you have to keep bringing yourself back and
yeah.
reminding yourself.
So
for sure.
in a position whereby you think like you've lost purpose or you don't even understand what the purpose is, just digressing just for a tiny bit. Do you have any help or something?
You're always asking me. This is a conversation.
You started with the question.
I feel like we make things hard. And of course, everything that I say on Wholesome Conversation, entirely my opinion. We've
definitely.
learned, I've learned from your opinion, and I keep learning because I love to learn. I just feel like nobody has what's that called, on opinions, and nobody's the beat or exactly of knowledge. So, but I feel that purpose is something that unravels along the way. I think we need to simplify it, and we make it a concept that is far away for people to see, and we make it like one thing. We make it an overarching, like it all sums up to one thing that you are doing. There might be a theme that you know. Okay, maybe you know you are a scholar. Maybe you know that you should be a trader, or this just like a theme, right? But you can't know, like, you can't nail down and say I was destined to do this, because purpose unravels. And every time, in every space, you keep finding purpose along the way. You are doing something, even you can, why I say unravels, you can narrow it down to small areas. You will find purpose in your marriage. You are with somebody, you kind of find purpose, and you are still now living on the overarching purpose of being, it just unravels. And yeah, so thinking is just one thing, one elusive thing, then you are chasing that one thing. I need to find that one thing, is the problem.
And sometimes just based on what you said, it can even be a cycle. Like, okay, I need to achieve this at this time, and
at
then
this time
it ends,
and then you move to another phase.
But if you're thinking that it is this, and once you hit it, let's even say you were able to hit it, and when it's time to even stop that and move to another phase, you are stuck at that stage, thinking that no, this is
your purpose, this is your overarching. I think it just honestly, the only time that we can really know our full purpose in life is if a man has lived up to the last minute of his life and has the opportunity at that last minute to stop and be told that this is the end of a person's life. Look back, and then he looks back in retrospect and then realize that, oh, okay, so this is the overarching sense. This is the overarching sense of my purpose, or this is the overarching thing my life has consisted about. And when the person dies, really, that's when a person can know in retrospect. And that's why God is the one that fully knows that. But our purpose unravels along the way, as long as we are, following our passions, our calling. There's God leads us with passions, I believe, and God leads us with, there's some things you just don't stop doing.
And you
just know you should do it. Remember when I was looking for a PhD to be here, I kept searching, saying, I will stop, I'll go back. Because I just felt that was what I needed to do till I got it. It happened because it was meant to happen. It was just a purpose I was meant to fulfill along and keep going. It was just the way it was. So that's all. That's just what I feel. You can't really. But in terms of, I really love what you said. You said something that was profound. That if we need to compare ourselves, then we need to compare ourselves fully. Bring everything to the table. Don't. That's what we do. You compare one thing in your life to another person. No, let us be fair. That equity is really must come with clean hands. Come fair. Bring everything. Your marriage, bring it if you're married, or if you're in a relationship. Bring it, how good it is. Bring your finances. Bring your health. Why don't you bring your health? Because you are comparing your finances. What about your health? Have you compared your health with that person's health? Because some people just enjoy good health.
Mm-hmm.
They've never had surgery before.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've had surgeries before, so I know they've never, some people have never had that. So bring everything. Let's compare it now. Since we want to compare ourselves, and then let's be fair.
If it's the same. So I think just based on what you've said, it's more of we all being unique in our journeys and understanding that irrespective, we are unique, and life throws different things at us.
Yeah.
So, and the beauty of
I have a question for you though before you ask me a question, because I feel like you want to ask me a question. So they say this saying that comparison is the thief of joy. Do you think that is true? How do you think that is true? If so, how do you?
This is an example.
Sorry.
So, left to me, I think it depends, and I'll go back to what you said earlier. Depends on what you gain from comparing yourself. So if it's a destructive comparison, definitely it's a killer of joy or thief of joy. It affects you because it brings you down. But if it's something that you're looking at, oh, this person is doing well, and I think I can achieve this. Okay, let me draw the table and everything, and boost your confidence. It inspires you. Then in that situation, I think it really brought joy. Exactly, it brought it. So not in all cases would we say that comparison is a killer of joy in a way, but now the common one when it comes to comparison and the most pronounced is the destructive ones.
That's what people often do.
Yeah, whereby you look at your weaknesses and you feel like I'm inadequate.
I'm not there.
Then it takes away. In fact, the person that you're talking about and you're comparing yourself with, I think we'll be looking at you in a different
another area.
Yeah, in a different way. And looking at you, they're up there, and you hear saying that, oh, I'm not there and everything, and it brings you down, not realizing that you have a lot of potential even for yourself to achieve more. So I think comparison sometimes, especially the destructive one, does more harm than good. Seriously, that is just left to me. So it's just realizing it and then hitting the nail on the head that, just like I said, sometimes it's unconscious. But once you just find yourself in there, understand that, oh, we are not the same no matter what. And our stories are different, and our stories will always be different. We are unique in our ways, and our stories are what makes us. Like there are some experiences I've gone through that I will be able to talk to some people based on the experiences I've gone through, and I will be a blessing to some people based on that. So if you understand your purpose, just like you said earlier, that maybe even the reason why I'm living is to understand this particular stage I'm going through and be able to pass it across to some people in a different dimension. I think there was, I don't know why I forgot his name, there was this pastor with no hands.
Nick Vuji.
Yeah, something like that. So you could see the way he was passionate preaching the gospel and everything. And some people would realize from, if someone like this can believe so hard in himself and is not giving up, then there is no point. Exactly, there is no point for me to give up. So I feel most times when we see our situations, but it could have been a beggar or just moving all around trying to find what's wrong with me. I can be better. Even I heard there are surgeries now to increase the length of your legs and everything. Like I saw someone that increased his height by breaking some bones, and it was excruciating in a way, and a lot of money. I think he spent is over $60,000 debt now. Is it 60 or 600,000? I'm not so sure, but I know it's now taller than what it used to be. But looking at the pain and it's more of insecurities and everything. Looking at the pain you have to go through because he said he's been trying to get some girls and they're not showing interest. So he feels the only way he could get attention is to increase his height. So what I'm saying is now is actually deflecting his purpose in a way. Though there's nothing wrong if there's a need for a particular correction or so, if that's. But I feel that's like to an extreme because you could have made use of what you have and then fulfill purpose and even bless life
And
through
even
it.
the
Just
girls
like
who come running when you come running
exactly,
when you're
it's
blessed
exactly
with the money
it's not priority. Now you're in debt.
and then you are tall.
I now doubt any girl in his right senses.
In her right senses.
In
And
her
how
right
much
senses,
taller is he for now, even with this surgery?
I think it's like 5'9" now. So
How much was he before?
I think maybe 5'2" or 5'5".
Wow.
So
How they broke his bones? I need to
Yeah,
watch that
yeah,
documentary.
yeah.
How is that even possible?
I was also surprised seeing that. So, well, he's happy he's in the US. He's a black guy. So, well,
This world is coming to an
but
end.
he's happy doing that. What I'm saying is, the pastor we talked about could have redirected his energy in finding solutions to his problems. Whereas he might missed even the purpose why he was born. Being that, okay, understanding that, what can I do with what I have at the moment? It's not even like sitting there and saying, what is my purpose? I'm even worried. I'm trying to, I have something. What can I do with what I have now? And then do it passionately, get results. Some people will look at you and be like, and this person feels inadequate in some way and they still be able to achieve this and they get inspired. And that's just the beauty of life in itself. And they come to you. And so far you're providing values to people's life that way. There's no way it flows back. That's just what I believe. So
that's interesting. That is very true. I think, yeah, and I think comparison contentment is linked together. And being contented, being and still confidence. I don't know why those con they are really linked. When you're contented, you're just confident in your path, in what you are, in who you are, and in where you are. In where you are, very important. And then from there, yeah, I hope you guys have learned a thing or two on today's episode. It's always nice talking to you, talking to ourselves, and basically connecting with you guys.
Exactly. It's fun.
Yeah, and don't forget to like, to share, and to subscribe. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for joining. Bye bye.